Another thing that we can do to vastly improve the render and affect the look of the render is to add depth of field. So to add depth of field, we go to the camera and in the Arnold tab. By the way, if you don't see the Arnold tab there or on any of your nodes, if you tab in the network view, go to Arnold and then click this Add Arnold Properties, and that should bring up the tab for you. So in the Arnold tab, go to depth of field, enable depth of field, check that, and initially we won't see any difference. That's because the aperture size is at 0. We need some value in there to actually see the depth of field. So if I put this to a really low number, I'll just try 0.1 to start. And even at 0.1 you can see it's way too blurry. Let's try dropping it down again. Let's try 0.01. Maybe a bit more, 0.03. You can see some parts are blurry and other parts are in focus. So the aperture size will just affect how blurry the blurry parts are. So to change which coffee beans will be in focus, we need to change this focus distance. Let's try dropping that to, let's go all the way to 1. Now we can see the focus is, I think even these ones right in the foreground are a little bit blurry. So a bit further away, let's try 2. That's more like it. So basically the beans, we got some beans in the foreground which are blurry, some in the background which are also very blurry, and then some in the middle are in focus. So this does add quite a bit of noise to your render. So and to clean that noise will take more time during the render. You'll have to add more samples. Let's take a look at a couple of things you can do to remove noise. In your light samples will help. Maybe I'll put like 3 samples there, and also your AA samples in the camera. I'm going to put this up to, let's do like 9. So this will take much longer to render, but it should result in a smoother render, a cleaner render with less noise. Let's see how this turns out. So that render's finished there. Took about 7.5 minutes on my system here for a 1280 by 720 render. So there is still a little bit of noise there. So it depends on you, how much time you're willing to wait for your render to finish. Obviously this is just one frame. We've got about 100 frames in our simulation. So multiply 7 by 100 is quite a lot. And also the resolution, if you want a higher res. And again, to remove all of the noise, you just need to continue raising the samples there on the camera. So we can also drop in a background, which we have provided for you. So again, if you remember in your scene view, when you press D, you open up the display options. In the network, you can do the same for display options there. And in the render view, we can do the same. Press D and bring up the display options. In background, we can drop in a background. We're not going to composite this in, we're just going to drop it in the back. Here, in this case, just for preview. Not in render. If we go to, I've got this saved in my HDR folder. Background final version 2. Apply and accept, and there we go. We've got a nice kind of blurry brown background there. So to render this out completely, you can either just right click, save frame, and then type your file path there. You can save it as EXR or PNG, TIFF, whatever you like. Or to render out a sequence, if we go into the Arnold node and then to output, we type here our output destination. So we can use our variable $hip to put us in the correct location, then /render for the render folder, and then give it a name. I'll say tabletop.version1 / same again for the actual file name, tabletop.version1 and then I'm going to put $f for the frame number, and this will give us a sequence of frames. If we don't do this, then the renderer will basically overwrite each time it renders a frame. So this will give us a new frame and give us a sequence, and then I'll put 3. We've got 100 frames, so we need 3 digits. And then the file format, I'll put EXR, and there we go. Okay, so that will, when I click render to disk, that will render, in this case, 1 frame, the current frame. If you want to render your whole sequence, and put your frame range here, this is set to the end of your sequence and the beginning. If you want to change that, right click, delete channels, and you can type whatever you want in there. Okay, in my case, I'm just going to do the current frame, and I'm going to click render to disk. So I'm not actually going to see anything here, but if you take a look at a performance monitor, you can see my CPU is running at 95% there. So it is rendering in the background. We just can't see any performance as it goes. Okay, so I've already done this, and I've got what I've done is loaded it up into mplay. Okay, so if you search through your software and search for image viewer, you'll find Houdini's media player, and this is similar to just the render viewer here, and we can use this to look at our renders. And again here, if you press D for your background, I'm going to just copy the path there, copy that, go here. I think that should play. No, 1 second, I'll just have to go ahead and find it in my directory here. I've got it in my Dropbox here. Wherever you've got it saved, go ahead and find it. There we go. I'm going to drop that in, apply, accept. So I've got the same thing there. So once you open mplay, just go to File, Open to find your render. You can open a sequence or a single frame, like I'm doing here. And then if you want to export a video, you can go to File, Export, and then either a Windows video or a QuickTime video.